They had done it. They had pulled off the perfect heist. Now, all that remained was to lay low and enjoy the fruits of their labor. As the team celebrated their success, Leo couldn't help but feel a sense of satisfaction. They had achieved the impossible, outwitting the bank's security and making off with millions. It was a heist that would go down in history, a testament to their skill, determination, and daring. But as they toasted their success, little did they know that their greatest challenge was yet to come. The authorities were hot on their trail, and the heist that had seemed so perfect would soon unravel in ways they could never have imagined. The morning after the heist, Baker Street was as lively as ever. Commuters hurried to work, shop owners opened their businesses, and the daily hustle and bustle carried on. But at Lloyds Bank, a grim scene awaited the employees who arrived to start their day. As the bank manager, Edward Thompson, unlocked the front doors and stepped inside, he immediately sensed that something was wrong. The normally pristine lobby was eerily quiet, and there was a faint smell of smoke lingering in the air. He quickly made his way to the vault, his heart pounding with a growing sense of dread. What he saw when he reached the vault door made his blood run cold. The heavy steel door, which should have been impenetrable, was hanging ajar. Inside, the vault was a scene of utter devastation. The walls were charred and crumbling, and the floor was littered with debris. The safes and safety deposit boxes had been ransacked, their contents missing. Thompson immediately called the police, and within minutes, the bank was swarming with officers and investigators. They quickly cordoned off the area and began the painstaking process of collecting evidence and documenting the scene. Detective Inspector Frank Wheeler, a seasoned investigator with the Metropolitan Police, was assigned to lead the investigation. Wheeler was a no-nonsense cop with a reputation for solving even the most complex cases. As he arrived at the bank, he surveyed the scene with a practiced eye, taking in every detail. The first priority was to secure the crime scene and gather evidence. Forensic teams combed through the vault, collecting fingerprints, fibers, and any other trace evidence that might provide a clue to the identity of the perpetrators. They also examined the tunnel, noting the tools and techniques used to dig it. Wheeler knew that the heist had been meticulously planned and executed. The fact that the thieves had managed to tunnel into the vault and breach its defenses without triggering any alarms spoke to their skill and sophistication. This was not the work of amateurs. It was the handiwork of seasoned professionals. News of the heist quickly spread, and soon the media descended on Baker Street. Reporters from newspapers, radio, and television swarmed the area, eager for any details about the audacious robbery. The story captivated the public's imagination, and headlines across the country proclaimed it the heist of the century. The press speculated wildly about the identity of the thieves and the amount of loot they had made off with. Some reports suggested that the haul could be worth millions, while others claimed that it included priceless jewels and valuable documents. The speculation only added to the intrigue and mystery surrounding the case. With the media frenzy in full swing, Wheeler and his team set about identifying potential suspects. They began by interviewing bank employees and anyone who might have seen or heard anything unusual in the days leading up to the heist. They also reviewed security footage from the area, hoping to spot anything that might provide a lead. One of the first things they discovered was that the leather goods store, 2 buildings down from the bank, had recently been rented by a man named Leonard Farmer. The store had been vacant for months, and the timing of the rental raised immediate suspicions. Wheeler dug into Farmer's background and quickly uncovered his criminal history. It became clear that Farmer had the skills and connections to pull off a heist of this magnitude. Wheeler also learned about Farmer's associates, including Terry Perkins, Albert Badman, Sammy Collins, and Michael Daniels, all of whom had criminal records and specialized skills that could have been used in the heist. With Farmer and his associates now prime suspects, Wheeler ordered round-the-clock surveillance on each of them. The police followed their every move, hoping to catch them slipping up or making contact with anyone who might have been involved in the heist. The surveillance operation was a delicate and painstaking affair. the suspects were highly cautious and constantly on the lookout for any signs of police activity. Despite this, the officers managed to gather valuable intelligence, including details about their movements and contacts. One evening, Wheeler received a tip that Leonard Farmer had been seen meeting with a known fence in a seedy part of town. The fence, a man named Richie Thompson, had a reputation for buying and selling stolen goods, and Wheeler knew that if the loot from the heist was going to be moved, it would likely go through him. Armed with this new information, Wheeler devised a plan to catch Farmer and his associates red-handed. He decided to set up a sting operation, using Richie Thompson as bait. The goal was to lure the thieves into a trap and catch them in the act of selling the stolen goods. The operation was set to take place in a rundown warehouse on the outskirts of London. Richie Thompson, who had been persuaded to cooperate with the police in exchange for leniency on some outstanding charges, agreed to set up a meeting with Farmer and his crew. On the night of the sting, the warehouse was filled with undercover officers and surveillance equipment. Wheeler and his team watched from a nearby van, their eyes glued to the monitors as they waited for the suspects to arrive. As the clock ticked past midnight, a black van pulled up outside the warehouse. Farmer and his associates emerged, each carrying a large duffel bag. They entered the warehouse, unaware that they were walking into a trap. Richie Thompson greeted them, his nervousness barely concealed. "You got the goods?" he asked, trying to sound casual. Farmer nodded and gestured to the bags. "Right here," he said. "Now let's see the cash." Thompson glanced towards the shadows, and at that moment, the warehouse was flooded with light. "Police, drop your weapons and put your hands in the air." Wheeler's voice boomed over a loudspeaker. For a moment, there was chaos. Farmer and his crew were caught off guard, and in the confusion, they made a desperate bid to escape. Shots were fired, and a brief but intense struggle ensued. In the end, the suspects were overpowered and arrested, their plans of a clean getaway shattered. With Farmer and his associates in custody, Wheeler knew that the hard work was only just beginning. The suspects were tight-lipped, refusing to cooperate or reveal the location of the stolen loot. But Wheeler was determined to crack the case and recover the stolen goods. Over the next few weeks, the police conducted an exhaustive investigation, following up on every lead and interrogating the suspects. They uncovered a vast network of criminal connections and pieced together the details of the heist, from the planning stages to the execution. In the end, the stolen goods were recovered, and the suspects were brought to trial. The case made headlines around the world, and the audacity and complexity of the heist captivated the public's imagination. For Wheeler, it was a hard-fought victory. The Baker Street Bank heist would go down in history as one of the most daring and meticulously planned crimes ever attempted. But thanks to his determination and skill, justice had been served.